Hello friends, my name is Fadivich. I am with the Nevskiy Frontier chapter of the Night Wolves Motorcycle Club.
Hello and welcome to the channel Bikers in Russia. I am your host Alexei Vedder. Today we will ride motorcycles with Fadivich, the president of one of the 150 chapters of the Night Wolves Motorcycle Club. The Night Wolves Motorcycle Club is widely regarded as the largest, most famous and oldest motorcycle club in all of Russia, boasting a rich history. It has 150 chapters worldwide, as well as many support clubs like the Russian Motorcyclist. It was originally founded in 1989 by a dedicated group of like-minded individuals, including Nevskiy Rubej. The period of the USSR's collapse and ongoing conflicts with local groups shaped the character of this club. Also, Route 81 initially showed the structure of the club. The club's politics later evolved to a clearer pro-Russian position. Now, the name of the motorcycle club is written in Russian on the backs. By the way, the motorcycle club Night Wolves is the only one of the major motorcycle clubs in Russia that writes its name in Cyrillic. Patriotism, a reminder of history, traditional values, and the promotion of the Russian world. This is the new meaning of the motorcycle club Night Wolves. The Night Wolves Motorcycle Club played an active role in the return of Crimea and is currently actively participating in the special military operation in Ukraine. Of course, all motorcycle clubs in Russia are patriots of their country, but only the Night Wolves Club openly declares its position to the world on behalf of the club. And only the Night Wolves Motorcycle Club is referred to as Putin's gang worldwide. President Alexander Kirug is included in Europe's sanctions list, which is considered an honor here in Russia. The Night Wolves Motorcycle Club has a huge clubhouse where large-scale events take place. The Night Wolves Motorcycle Club constantly holds patriotic events throughout the country and beyond its borders. The Night Wolves Motorcycle Club hosts impressive bike shows that attract around 100,000 enthusiastic guests each year. And on occasion, the Russian President Vladimir Putin makes an appearance to support the event. Well, the tour is over. Let's take a ride now with Fadich, the president of one of the chapters of the Night Wolves Motorcycle Club. You'll encounter an everyday Russian man with a completely typical Russian idea that reflects his culture and experiences.
Is what you expected from the club justified?
Yes, definitely. The further it goes, the more it increases. In other words, I found myself in the element I have been striving for my whole life. I don't know how to explain it in words.
What were you going for?
It's not just about the journey, it's a part of life. It's what I live for, what I have lived, what my parents and teachers instilled in me. They influenced me in many ways, from tourism to history. Somehow, all of this has come together here.
Have you recently established a separate branch of the Night Wolves Club?
We will be 2 years old on June 8th this year.
2 years, right? And if it's not a secret, why did you separate from the St. Petersburg chapter?
We have come to the conclusion that we need to develop.
Are you all from the northern side of St. Petersburg?
No, we are in the Leningrad region, the Nevskiy Frontier chapter. A certain ring of memory around St. Petersburg. The relationship is more with the Leningrad region and the regional Leningrad region.
Listen, what do you think is the primary mission or main goal of the Night Wolves Motorcycle Club? Do they have a clearly formulated purpose that guides their activities?
Promoting the Russian world.
From the motorcyclist side?
We all originate from the former USSR, and now our country is fragmented into separate parts. And in such a Russophilia that is developing, our task is to remain afloat as a Russian people, which is multinational.
Are you aware that you are also contributing to the propaganda of the Russian world? And it is indeed such a significant part.
Of course.
Are you genuinely proud of it? And do you believe you are proud? You do it for your country, not just for yourself or the club, but for the country.
I recognize that I'm a part of this situation and that some significant effort is being invested. The same bike shows Alexander our Cherokee. While illustrating the complex situation in Crimea, particularly focusing on the relationship between Russia and the region's transition to becoming part of Russia. This also played a positive role, and the bike show in Stalingrad also had its own display. What people honor is history they remember, and this is necessary for them. It's important to remind people of their origins, because the neighboring countries of the former USSR and others always shout that we are bad and oppress them. And we patiently remain silent, forgetting that our patience is probably seen as weakness. Still, we need to show and remind them that we have our own interests too. I mean, not the club, but the interests of the Russian people.
Unreciprocated acts of goodwill that ultimately remain unanswered. This entire situation involving Azerbaijan has become quite complex and noteworthy.
I'll say that I generally don't follow politics very closely, as I identify more as a technical person, primarily focused on technical matters and organizational issues that impact my work. I last turned on the TV about 2 to 3 months ago, and that was just to relax after another event. It was aimless, just to reboot.
How many people usually come to the club? More plus, as far as I understand. So the club is currently in the positive. It's clear that some people leave, and that's understandable. Are there people coming in? How actively?
I'll say this, we don't actively promote ourselves or shout, come to us. When we first opened our chapter, there were only 3 people. The chapter has been around for about a year now and has 11 people. We are gradually growing, and this is a qualitative growth with people who share our worldview. They are ready to do something in the name of our idea, rather than just proudly flaunting beautiful patches on their backs. Little by little, we are growing, and we are growing in quality.
Listen, please tell me, how much do you value the concept of not just brotherhood, but genuine friendship? How would you describe the level of friendship within your family? And to what extent do your children truly know and understand one another? How do they interact at all?
We somewhat differentiate between friendship and brotherhood, because brotherhood is, after all, something more. And we try, in addition to general public events, to organize family gatherings so that people can socialize and relax by the campfire. We all engage in communication here as well. Again, I won't speak for the entire club because the club is large. I won't say that I communicate with all the chapters. I may not be familiar with certain individuals. But it is precisely within our close circle that we communicate. St. Petersburg, Tver, Novgorod, in Moscow, and within the chapter. We communicate and are happy to see everyone.
Fadej, we are observing together both the residents of Russia and society as a whole, as a cross-section of the community. I do not take into account those whom I call around SVO people, who are involved in humanitarian aid for the special military operation in Ukraine, plus the military themselves, who are directly connected to military service and duty to the motherland. And I take the overall mass of people, the residents of Russia. How do you think they are changing?
It changes, but say that these social changes started much earlier, before SMO.
The start of the SMO served as a trigger. The special military operation, as the culmination, revealed all the cards once it began. People showed their true colors, with some standing with Russia and others only thinking of themselves. Even partner countries revealed their true selves.
Do you mean a point as the apex after which the world will never be the same?
Changes have occurred, but it's an important transitional point in time. This is not the end, it's a point that needed to be reached to transition into a new level, a new reality. You can clearly see it, even if you observe the relationships of people interacting on the road. It has changed. The relationship between people has changed. Respect has emerged. If we look at the relationships between nations within Russia in the past, we were often pitted against each other. but now it's better. They are leveling out, and they are leveling out well.
I'll be honest with you, the issues remain, but they manifest differently now. But the problem concerns migrants who are not citizens of Russia. Indeed, the problem is much smaller than in Europe. Here, it's just isolated cases. That's a different topic.
Another question. Here, it is likely that the main issue revolves more around the level of people's activity. Those who are bitten by Russophobes say this is Russia. Everything can't be good there. Unfortunately, they are more active than the people who live by faith in Russia, work, have families, and raise children.
Because they don't have time to be active online. They are working somewhere in a factory. By the way, I've noticed that there is much more respect for the working class now. Specifically to specialists such as turners, welders, and so on. Look, their salaries have really gone up in recent years, haven't they?
It's not merely about respect. It's fundamentally about the country's unwavering stance on reviving what was lost and tragically destroyed during those tumultuous years when factories were demolished and our nation was systematically dismantled and trampled upon. Now, as we witness the remarkable rise of production, the significant advancements in science, and the strengthening of our military defense, all of these developments are vital in realizing and unleashing the true potential of our people. This collective effort not only honors the past, but also paves the way for a more promising and prosperous future. Back in the days of the disintegration and post-disintegration of the USSR in the 2000s and 90s, everyone wanted easy and quick money. Quickly grab something and then let whatever happens happen. I'm not thinking about tomorrow. And many managers and traders of buy-sell have emerged. The manager started selling something, but for him to sell anything, someone has to produce it. Therefore, this is about the craft revival, the resurgence of craftsmanship. Or take agriculture, where government support plays a significant role. Also, look at how many factories and large productions open each year. One of the directions of development. Of course, there is little informational support and coverage of our country's successes. But in this regard, we are becoming better and better. Indeed, a skilled craftsman often earns more than a manager and is valued more highly. And there's no one like drunk Vasya on a tractor anymore. We have always had a successful layer of engineering professionals, and it is now in higher demand.
How do you envision the future of Russia in terms of politics and society? What future? Perhaps you dream about it, or you might have a specific idea of how you would ideally like to see it come to fruition. Well, what you truly strive for? Just like that. What vision of Russia do you seek?
Striving for a vision of Russia. It's probably the one that I currently live in. Because of the pace of development, social development, and industrial growth. I'm a bit behind now due to my age, let's say. Even when you mentioned alcohol, I immediately remembered that movie about vampires, Twilight, Out of the Shadows, or something like that. There were hunters, and our Soviet ones were going around the houses. And this is the awakening of Russia and the rejection of alcohol, a transition to a healthy lifestyle. Again, there is propaganda, and people are drawn to it, which sobers them up and brings them out of the shadows. Sometimes I drive on the road. Not long ago, probably about 3 years ago, I started to distinguish clouds and the volume of the world around me in addition to the road. When you get drunk, you are in a fog. You don't see that, and you are simultaneously in your own world, which is artificially painted based on what has been put in your ears rather than what actually surrounds you. I often look back on this story now and think it inspires me to keep moving forward and do more. And what about Russia? For the country to be great, it must stand strong, not forget its citizens, provide support, and of course develop while being less dependent on other countries and external influences. We are unique. We have everything. What is the area of our country? Why should we follow someone and turn to others' opinions?
Fadivich, tell me, you have 3 children, right?
Yes, 3 girls.
3 girls with 1 wife?
With 1 wife, yes.
Cool, so you 2 are together now, right?
Of course, of course. If she is the mother of my children, we can't do it any other way.
What ages?
Ages 4, 7, and 11.
4, 7, 11. Do you notice how the education system has changed? Isn't it that at 7 years old one is not yet in school, or has she already started school?
Let's go to school now this year.
Got it, so it's not school yet. I just have a son, Artyom Alexievich, who just finished 1st grade and will be going into 2nd. Is the older daughter already studying? Do you notice how propaganda works in schools? How the education system has changed in recent years? And what knowledge they are being given? Or did you not pay attention to it?
I notice there are not only superficial knowledge there. A lot has changed, and even solving math problems is very different from how we were taught in our time. The solution, the conclusion remains valid, but the garden of thoughts and the approach to the task are laid down differently. Basically, children are being taught project-based thinking now. To accomplish something, it should be structured as a project. In the 4th grade, when my daughter was in school, there was a lot of homework by the end of the year. She did a project on the topic of bread. She needed to deepen her knowledge, prepare a story about bread. Project documentation, historical reference what bread is. And it was interesting to see the children's work, how they described their projects. And if you look at the attached plan, it resembles a project for a large event more than anything else. They instill a mindset so that a person striving for something knows how to achieve it. That is not only what he wants, but for him to understand which path to take and what is needed for that. And this way of thinking is instilled from school. In my opinion, that's a good thing. I won't discuss the unified state exam or any related topics and everything else surrounding it. As someone involved in organizing large events, I see that a project-based mindset for children plays a positive role.
Are your children in a special school or a regular one?
No, it's an ordinary free school. No special school. That is, it is part of the overall school curriculum for everyone.
Many volunteer children, and I noticed a certain reference to the pioneers of the Soviet era. And you know, I remembered our age, when at that point we were essentially left to our own devices because our parents were preoccupied with how to survive and feed us during this pivotal moment for Russia.
Yes, where to find bread and similar questions.
We were left to our own devices. We developed ourselves somewhere on the streets, in the yards.
Yes, I remember well. When I was in 5th grade, I was a troublemaker at school. And coming into the 5th grade, I think, well, that's it. My whole class are pioneers, and I'm like a delinquent, but in the junior status of October child. Well, that's it. I'm definitely going to be accepted into the pioneers now. I come in, and at school they say to us, guys, why are you wearing ties? And all the Soviet Union is no more. You no longer need to wear a uniform, and ties are not required either. And you know, I keep remembering, even now, there's this small grievance. There were things like Uncle Stepa the policeman from the Soviet cartoon, and there was the boyish little rascal. And then all of it collapsed, just like that, with a snap of the fingers. It wasn't gradual, it happened suddenly, and just like that, the world collapsed in an instant. Immediately, my parents disappeared from home, starting to work 2 or 3 jobs, leaving early in the morning and returning late at night.
How old are you?
I'm 45 now.
Oh, I'm 41. Well, yes, it turns out you really caught the moment of the USSR's collapse.
There used to be a familiar culture, a social history, collecting scrap metal, recycling paper, and then suddenly everything changed and it was all gone. And you are truly needed by no one at this moment in time. And you are already looking for ways to occupy yourself and how to arrange your life. Either it's the street, crime, and courtyards. Thank God at that time the pioneer houses were still afloat. There was a scouting movement that got me into tourism. I traveled half of Russia and it preserved me. In the motorcycle, this story began with my father when I was 10 years old. When my parents sent me to my grandmother's in the Vladimir region for the whole summer, there was a Minsk motorcycle there. My father said, yeah, if you start it, you can ride it. So at the age of 10, I began starting the Minsk, fixing it up, strengthening my leg muscles by kick-starting it, and I started running for my school in competitions.
You were lucky in that regard. Well, I can't say that I've been unlucky. I mean, I'm basically satisfied with everything, but I grew up on the streets. Because we lived without our father, even though we had a good relationship with him. I had a typical relationship, but I grew up without a father figure in my life. And it was provided accordingly to the history of the streets and yards. So look, this is what I was talking about earlier regarding those volunteer kids. And you know, I remembered Russia then and our perception of its changes over the years. And for me, Russia is all this history as a whole. Yes, from the age of awareness to the present moment. The changes in her that were happening before our eyes. We go left, right?
Yes, left.
I understand, yes. The changes that have taken place before our eyes over these years. And for them, the country is already a successful superpower. Do you understand?
Yes. For me, this is a country that has been destroyed and trampled before my eyes, to put it mildly. At the age of 10, I already understood that this phrase by Boris Yeltsin, "take as much sovereignty as you can swallow," spoken in 1990, was significant. Then came the collapse of the USSR, which was a shock for me even as a child. Because I still accepted the word unity, that we are all together, that we are in the USSR. Our fathers and grandfathers fought against Hitler, and now there are borders among one people.
You understood this at 10 years old?
Yes, I realized this at the age of 10 and was very upset by this fact. You know, I was raised with values. Both my grandfathers fought in the war. One was a paratrooper who went through the Japanese conflict. We hardly talk about it because people of that age who went through the war didn't like to share their stories. We had and still have the holiday of Victory Day, but again, it was more their celebration than ours. All we could do was support it.